Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into something deep, something that might feel a little uncomfortable at first, but is so worth exploring. It's about vulnerability. Yeah, that word that makes a lot of us squirm. We often think of vulnerability as weakness, as something to avoid at all costs. But what if I told you that being vulnerable is actually one of the most powerful things you can do? That it's not about breaking down, but about building something stronger. Your relationships, your self-awareness, and even your resilience. Let's unpack this together and discover the real strength in being vulnerable. So what is vulnerability? At its core, it's about being open. Open with your feelings, your fears, your dreams, and even your flaws. It's about letting people see the real you, not the polished version you might post on social media or present at a job interview. It's raw, it's honest, and it's human. But here's the thing. Society has conditioned us to think that showing vulnerability is dangerous. We're told to toughen up, to hide our emotions, to always appear strong and in control. And I get it. Being vulnerable can feel like handing someone a map to your deepest insecurities and saying, "Here, do what you want with this." Scary, right? But let's flip that perspective. What if vulnerability isn't about giving someone power over you, but about taking your power back? When you're vulnerable, you're saying, "This is me, and I'm okay with it." That's not weakness, that's courage. It takes guts to admit when you're struggling, to say, "I don't have all the answers," or to tell someone you care about them, knowing they might not say it back. Vulnerability is about stepping into uncertainty and choosing authenticity over perfection. Let's talk about why this matters. First off, vulnerability builds connection. Think about the people you feel closest to in your life. Chances are those relationships grew because someone, maybe you, maybe them, took a risk and opened up. Maybe it was a late-night conversation where you admitted you're terrified of failing, or a moment where you shared a dream that felt too big to say out loud. Those moments of raw honesty, they're the glue that holds relationships together. When you let someone see your true self, you give them permission to do the same. And that's where real, meaningful connection happens. I want to share a quick story to illustrate this. A few years ago, I was going through a rough patch. I just lost a job I loved, and I was feeling like I'd failed, not just at work, but at life. I didn't want to tell anyone because I was embarrassed. I thought, if I admit this, people will think I'm a loser. But one day, I was having coffee with a friend, and I just couldn't keep it in anymore. I told her everything, how scared I was, how I felt like I wasn't good enough. And you know what? She didn't judge me. She didn't try to fix it. She just listened and then shared that she'd been through something similar. That conversation didn't solve my problems, but it made me feel less alone. It gave me the strength to keep going. That's the power of vulnerability. It creates a bridge between us and others. Now, let's be real. Being vulnerable isn't always going to end with a warm, fuzzy moment like that. Sometimes you open up and it doesn't go the way you hoped. Maybe someone dismisses your feelings, or worse, uses them against you. That's a real risk, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But here's the thing. Vulnerability isn't about being reckless with your heart. It's about choosing the right moments and the right people. It's about setting boundaries and knowing who's earned the right to hear your story. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your inner world, and that's okay. Part of the strength in vulnerability is learning to protect yourself while still being open. Let's talk about another aspect of this, vulnerability and personal growth. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you're giving yourself permission to face your fears and insecurities head on. It's like holding up a mirror to your soul and saying, "Okay, this is where I'm at, now what?" That kind of self-awareness is the foundation for growth. For example, let's say you're terrified of public speaking. You could spend your life avoiding it, pretending you're fine, or you could admit, "Hey, this scares me, but I want to get better." That admission is the first step to tackling the fear. Maybe you take a class, practice in front of friends, or just start small. But it all begins with being honest about where you're at. I think one of the reasons we shy away from vulnerability is because it forces us to confront things we'd rather ignore. It's easier to pretend everything is fine than to admit we're struggling. But here's a truth bomb. Ignoring your feelings doesn't make them go away. It just buries them, and they come back later, often in ways you don't expect, like stress, burnout, or even resentment. Being vulnerable with yourself, admitting what you're really feeling, is like clearing out the clutter in your mind. It creates space for healing, for growth, and for moving forward. Let's shift gears a bit and talk about vulnerability in different contexts, like at work. This one's tricky because the workplace often feels like the last place you want to show your soft side. But vulnerability doesn't mean oversharing or breaking down in a boardroom. It can be as simple as saying, "I'm not sure about this. Can we brainstorm together?" Or, "I made a mistake, and here's how I plan to fix it." That kind of honesty can build trust with your colleagues and create a culture where people feel safe to take risks and innovate. Leaders who show vulnerability by admitting they don't have all the answers or by owning up to a mistake often inspire more loyalty than those who try to appear perfect. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. This all sounds great, but how do I actually do this? How do I start being more vulnerable? I'm glad you asked, because it's not about flipping a switch and suddenly spilling your guts to everyone. It's a practice, and it starts small. Here are a few ways to ease into it. First, start with yourself. Take a moment to check in with how you're feeling. Journaling can be a great tool for this. Just write down what's on your mind without judging it. Maybe you're stressed about work, or you're excited about a new project but scared it won't pan out. Whatever it is, give yourself permission to feel it. That's vulnerability in its simplest form. Next, try sharing something small with someone you trust. It doesn't have to be a deep, dark secret. Maybe it's telling a friend, "I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed lately," or admitting to a partner, "I'm really nervous about this thing coming up." Start with low-stakes moments and see how it feels. Over time, you'll build confidence in being open. Another tip is to practice active listening. Vulnerability isn't just about sharing your own feelings. It's also about creating space for others to share theirs. When someone opens up to you, really listen. Don't jump to fix their problems or change the subject. Just be there. That act of holding space is a powerful way to build trust and deepen connections. And finally, be kind to yourself. Vulnerability is hard, and you're not going to get it right every time. There will be moments when you share something and wish you hadn't, or times when you hold back and later regret it. That's okay. It's all part of the process. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Before we wrap up, I want to touch on one more thing: the cultural side of vulnerability. Depending on where you're from or how you were raised, vulnerability might carry different weight. In some cultures, emotional openness is celebrated. In others, it's seen as a sign of weakness. If you grew up in an environment where you were taught to keep it together no matter what, being vulnerable might feel like going against everything you know. And that's valid. But I encourage you to challenge those norms, even just a little. You don't have to change overnight, but experimenting with small moments of openness can shift how you see yourself and how others see you. So why does all this matter? Because vulnerability is the key to living a fuller, more authentic life. When you embrace it, you're not just surviving, you're thriving. You're building stronger relationships, growing as a person, and showing the world that strength isn't about hiding who you are, it's about owning it. Every time you choose vulnerability, you're choosing courage over comfort, connection over isolation, and growth over stagnation. I'll leave you with this. Vulnerability isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. And in a world that's constantly pushing us to be something we're not, being real is the ultimate act of strength. So take a deep breath, and the next time you're faced with a moment where you could open up, ask yourself, what's the braver choice here? I bet you already know the answer. Thanks for joining me today. If this resonated with you, let me know in the comments. What's one way you've embraced vulnerability in your life? I'd love to hear your stories. And if you found this helpful, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Until next time, keep being real, keep being brave, and I'll see you soon.